and it's going to go away in a week or so. So if you have plans to travel into the Mexican borders, I need you to know what you're walking into, okay? And it's really not safe, and I don't recommend anybody going in there. So 10 years, and this is, what some of the notes that I put in there, put together, is like 10 years after the government launched its war on drugs and sent the military to combat cartels, homicides are now at levels not seen since the height of the situation when they sent them out there the first time. Violence is widespread, and it remains most prevalent in a few of the hard-hit towns and cities. Now, when you say a few, we're looking at, in Mexico, 50 cities. And they're not just little suburb areas where you see villages and stuff like that. No, we're talking about cities. When you say cities, you know that it's a condensed population of people and businesses and things like that. And according to new government figures, nearly half of all the homicides in the country occur in just these 50 cities. Okay. And they got one called, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, Ecatepec. This one city is like basically at the top of the murders. It's like the murder capital, basically, or one of the murder capitals of Mexico. It's like in the past 2 years, they've seen a jump in the violence in the cities throughout Mexico. And in January alone of 2017, they had 1,938 people killed, according to the Mexican Executive Secretary for the National Public Security System. And this now, because of this, it is putting Mexico, the year 2017, on track to be one of the deadliest years since modern records began in 1997. So just think about some of these crazy movies that we watch for entertainment where everything just blows up and everybody's in the street and nothing is safe. Basically, this is how they're reporting this. And you're seeing these people getting killed, and it's like, official data shows that 206 murder investigations were opened in Mexico City between May and June, making it the bloodiest 2 months period on record in the capital. 206 people. Can you imagine 206 people, not military, civilian bodies being murdered? Okay, 206 in one city. Mexico City, which is basically where, a lot of people want to go because it is it's the economic heart of the country. And it accounts for roughly a quarter of the gross domestic products. And, unfortunately, the rise in violence has become a major embarrassment for the Mexican government, and it's just, they had a situation where they had something called they call it a tough Mexico City suburb. First of all, if you already have violence, okay, that's tough. So can you imagine the tough calling somewhere tough? That's not tough. That's like scary. Okay, at least to me. And they're saying that in Mexico, the Mexico City suburb is a so-called narco blockade occurred after the Mexican Marines gunned down 8 suspected gangsters in broad daylight in the middle of the street. Okay. And it's like, it's crazy. It's highly unusual. They say it's highly unusual that it's, happened. But the recent spike in the violent crimes is causing this ripple effect. And there are a few things that they're saying is, part of the problem. For one, you got the government trying to do something, but they're not doing it well enough. Okay. And here's a little clip of the notes that I've taken. It's like in a news conference on last Friday, Mexico City Mayor Miguel Angel Mancera said the suspects that were killed in that Blanco, the narco blockade, they belonged to violent criminal organizations whose operations were no longer confined to their areas. Now they were noted that they entered Mexico City in armed convoys. That is not normal. Like, for real, that is not normal. Armed convoys? Who does that? Like, for real. Can you imagine looking out your bedroom window, looking for the sun and the beautiful sky and birds, and you see not even military, but civilian armed convoys coming through, that means there's no rules and no boundaries to what's about to happen. So if that is really true and that really happened, you gotta really pay attention and start looking up and seeing what's going on in that area, so that if you have plans out there, if you want to plan something, you might want to rethink it. You might want to reschedule it or redirect it to go somewhere else. Okay. Because basically, the factors that are playing a part in this is a weak economic system, and it's making the youth go out and basically, strong arm local business owners to the point where they're cleaning them out and they gotta close. So now you have no jobs for the normal people who just want a job, who's willing to go out and make an honest living. Then you got they're blaming last year's capture of the Sinaloa cartel leader, Joaquin El Chapo. We all know who El Chapo is, Guzman. Everybody make fun of El Chapo, okay? But he's not something to be played with. They're blaming the capture of him for the spike, because now you got rival gangs running around making a play for all of El Chapo's territory and unleashing feuds between smaller groups, which are branching off into extortion and robbery for funds, especially in places like, remember I said that first, the murder capital, one of the murder capitals, Ecatepec, the state of Mexico's most problematic city. Now, if that's the most problematic city, it's basically the murder capital. It's the top of the heap. And then you have the criminal underworld mutated. They're saying it has mutated in recent years due to this, the small gangs trying to come up and make their play, because now El Chapo's locked up. So all of his business is up for play. And it's like, prolonged military led assault that smashed the cartels into hundreds of informal crews with little experience in cross-border trafficking, which means you got a whole bunch of people out here that don't know the game, trying to run the game, and it's turning into something horrible, because it's like these smaller groups jostle over the kidnapping and extortion rackets, and violence is soaring. Now, first of all, it sounds kind of crazy that we're fighting over who gets to kidnap and extort people. That sounds real crazy. Right there. Now, don't get me wrong. Mexico is a beautiful place and I don't take nothing from them. But when you're looking and you're reading this information that you're getting, from people who actually went over there and is trying to report this information back, I don't know how skewed it is. I don't know how one-sided it is. But what I can say is, if there's any truth to this, you don't want to be caught up in it. Okay? Because they're saying that there's lots of innocent bystanders being killed. It's like how they portrayed back in the early 90s, mid 90s, South Central LA, how everybody was afraid to go to South Central LA because you thought you were going to get gunned down in the street because of gang violence. Okay. Now, the way I see it is, you take that visual or idea and multiply it times probably 10. And that's what they're making this out to be. Now, again, I don't know how true it is, how much truth it is, because we all know that, not everybody in law and law enforcement are honest, law-abiding citizens. There could be some stuff going on, because the idea of having armed convoys kind of makes me seem like it's a little government funded, but it might just be me and my theories, because, I tend to look into a lot of things and think about a lot of things and possibly overthink a lot of things, but I just say be careful, because anytime you're trying to book a vacation, it's a beautiful thing to have a vacation booked. It's a beautiful thing to go on trips. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I would never trade it. But definitely know where you're going. Just because it's a place that, most people say is just wonderful and beautiful, and the land is beautiful, the sand is beautiful, the water is beautiful, the people, the culture and everything, you got to know what's going on. Okay, don't just jump up and run out and just go somewhere. And if you're dealing, and this is another reason why I do recommend that you do your traveling, your planning through a travel agent, because that travel agent, if they are a reputable agent and they're like a real agent, they're going to know, okay, I don't think you want to go there right now. I think we might want to steer our way over to the left. Let's go over, somewhere else. Let's try Hawaii. Let's try Fiji. Let's try, places like that, Tahiti. But because, there's nothing going on over there right now. This is what you want to do. And travel and leisure is a beautiful thing. I take nothing excuse me, from that. But you got to know, excuse me, there's good and bad in everything. How you deal with it is what you take from it. So, that being said, we're going to break, get some music so I can get something to drink, and we'll be right back.